Macon is back healthy and he's wearing a jean jacket. This is like Michael Jordan in number 45. Macon in a jean jacket.
That's right.
He's back. What does it mean? I have no idea. Welcome to Greenlight, episode 15.
Thank you.
Good to have you back healthy, Macon.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. Feeling good. This should be my highest energy show to date.
Like we said, mid-November to mid-December was really rough for you.
Right.
It's a new month.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't look like that on the calendar. We can manipulate it mentally. It started this weekend.
Dec 14 through Jan 13 is one of my favorite months out of the year.
It's a great month. It's a month where Macon looks rejuvenated, healthy. The bags under his eyes are going away.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever go away again, like I've said
that
on
was
a
a
previous
lie,
show.
but I was working my way down to the fact that
this is just how I look.
Your color is back. You're wearing, usually you do the flannel thing, but I've never been a big fan of the really lightweight flannel. Like, I don't know, it's not a flannel, lightweight, like an Izod shirt.
Oh.
That's like kind of your uni every day?
No, it's not.
What is it then? Explain it. It's not a flannel, it's a dress shirt with what would you call that?
A pattern?
Pattern, yeah.
Okay.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
Like that you added
Thanks.
the flannel material to your arsenal today.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, this is a nice shirt. I like this shirt. I think this is an Orvis shirt.
Orvis, yeah, I like that. You should go to Orvis a lot more.
Thanks. Do you like my jacket?
Yeah, it's actually it's the jacket you're wearing, but it's not your jacket.
Yeah. That
would be my jacket.
I'm wearing Chris's jacket.
Yeah.
It's a little big, but it looked cool on him, and then he flung it off to show one of his graphic tees.
Yeah,
one more of his graphic tees.
Do I have too many graphic tees?
All your tees are graphic tees.
Well, all your shirts are lightweight, tiny pattern, Izod style, buy them at Belk shirts.
I don't buy them at Belk.
Where do you buy them?
Oh, I don't know. Your Eljo's?
Eljo's,
your Beecroft and Bull?
Shout out to some local businesses.
Yeah.
We take the time every week to shout out local businesses.
We do.
Actually, I this started with a compliment, but as it goes, we don't exactly compliment each other directly. What I meant to say was I like the outfit, man.
Thanks.
And I took 2 minutes to rip your everyday uni to shreds.
This jacket halfway works sitting down. If I were to stand up, you would see that it's more of a cape on me. Though taller, I do weigh less than you.
Yeah, about, big mystery, Macon's weight. I think we're going to delve into that Friday. We'll take some guesses. We'll put a tweet. We'll fire off a tweet later and see if anybody's right on. Maybe the closest to guessing it correctly gets a shout out at least on the
jacket.
Show. No, it does not get the jacket. I like the jacket. That's my jacket.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm Chris. I'm so woke on societal issues. I smoke doobies. I hate lunch. I love Carson Wentz and I hate the Rams, even though they gave me my start.
Oh my God. I know what he's doing right now. Nice big con attempt because I don't hate the Rams. I'm also not woke at all.
Oh, I'm charitable as hell.
I am charitable as hell.
Give me awards. Send them to me, please.
If they involve money for the foundation, I am all about it. On topic, thank you for teeing that up.
Mm-hmm.
Waterboys has launched Hometown H2O program. That is going to finally answer the question for so many of you. What are you doing for America? Well, we're doing a lot for America. Check us out at waterboys.org. We are going to tackle some issues domestically. Speaking of, actually having nothing to do with waterboys.org. There's water involved. talking about. We've talked a lot about bathroom hygiene, and we've talked about hygiene lately on this show.
Love hygiene.
We talked about the toilet mostly. Well, Dr. Fax, Nate Collins, for those of you who listen, sent in a Snapchat that he saw from one of his former teammates in Chicago. And I want you to check this out and tell me if this is acceptable. For those of you listening, that is a toilet at the Bears facility, which is a great looking toilet.
Yeah, a lot of privacy.
Nice backsplash. Looks like a private place. There's not like this stall, the wall goes down to the floor,
right,
which is nice.
Yep.
Nothing worse than awkwardly sitting next to somebody who's also doing business and seeing their shoes and being afraid they can identify you. In football, if you absolutely blow up the bathroom at the facility, don't wear your shower shoes in because they all have the numbers on them. You can't hide.
Yeah.
That's a nice stall. But for those of you listening and not watching, that stall had a toilet in it, which was covered with shower towels.
Yeah, that's a bath towel.
That's a bath towel that homeboy put instead of toilet paper. I don't think that's acceptable.
I've never seen anything more acceptable
than putting a shower towel as the seat cover.
Yeah, that's clean. They have a bath towel down as a mat for your feet, and they have a can of Lysol spray next door.
You got to get the poopery or poopery.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard because you're mispronouncing the first half. You might as well mispronounce the second. Poopery.
Nice. Karch
Curry.
Yeah.
So you just so you spray this poopery right in the john, and nothing that comes after it smells. Believe me, it actually works.
Yeah, I believe you.
Yeah, you believe me. But I don't understand how you think that's acceptable because those towels go back in the wash and people have to dry themselves off with them at a later date.
Yeah, you do have to suspend some disbelief when you're using the locker room towels. For those of us not in NFL facilities, we do go to gyms.
Yeah.
Their towels provided.
Yeah.
Where do you think those towels are going?
Well, they're not going on people's toilets while they drop violent dookies with backsplash hitting the... I mean, part of that towel was hanging over the rim.
What's going on toilet seats normally?
Nothing.
Cheeks,
but there is a happy medium if you don't believe in the cheeks on seats. The toilet paper thing, I think, is perfectly acceptable, although I don't think it's necessary. I don't think you just fuck everybody else's day up by using the towel that you're going to be drying your face with the next day. Like, Brandon Brooks could have done something in that stall. And if that was an acceptable thing, Brandon Brooks was not only sitting on that, but he was also shitting on that.
Yeah. I guess if I'm going to say that Brandon Brooks' cheeks are on the towel.
I don't really want to talk about Brandon's cheeks. I'm sorry, we did this.
In other settings, you're going to say...
Shout out to Brandon Brooks, though. Best guard in the league.
He's clean after that. He's clean after a shower when towel is to cheek.
You would hope. But if you come right off the practice field, you plop a bath towel down.
Okay.
That's not acceptable to me.
Maybe you're right, and maybe you swayed me. I was just saying in general, that looks like a nice setup to walk into.
Nice to hear I swayed you. It's a luxurious bathroom. Respect the facilities is all I'm saying. Another thing I learned recently was that if you have a toothbrush in your bathroom, probably cover it. Don't just throw it in a Dixie cup. Because do you know why? Particles everywhere.
Yeah.
As soon as you flush that toilet, it's like acid rain.
Yeah.
What you do on Mother Earth, what you do in that bowl, what goes around comes around.
Some will tell you to shut the lid and then flush.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. Just to be safe, though, maybe throw your toothbrush in the thing. That's your hygiene update for the week.
In your toothbrush travel deal?
Yeah, travel deal.
Those things can get kind of grody.
They can get gross. They can certainly get gross.
And then maybe you're throwing them in the dishwasher.
What I generally do is get a new toothbrush every week.
Yeah.
Is that a normal rate or?
No, that's far too frequent. Dennis might agree with you.
Yeah.
I recently
Oral-B loves it.
I got some toothbrushes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I had to clean a little bit of chocolate and almond butter out of a USB port on a computer. And so I just grabbed a few at once.
That sounds like that had to be difficult.
Yeah.
Maybe watch where you put your computer down.
I have learned that lesson.
So that's your hygiene update for the week that took 10 minutes. So I'm on the Russillo show on Mondays, and we get this running joke where I make fun of him for doing everything alone. Recently, he was at, I got a tip that he was at a Manhattan Beach fireworks show all alone. Turns out he was actually walking back from a basketball court that was closed, and he was dejected, saw the fireworks, and stopped to take a look. Of course, he was playing basketball alone as well. We talked about it on the pod. The users submitted, not the users, the listeners submitted some great artwork, some Ryan Russillo art. Can we throw that up for the people watching? This is a rendering of Ryan, which actually it's got fireworks to. They're giving him too much hair.
I don't know.
He doesn't have that much hair.
If he were to grow
it out, but why is he
would
doesn't
have coverage there?
He's not doing that though.
Right.
So you've got this guy with the stubble that looks like a cross between Bruce Willis and Olin Kreutz, who we had on the show, but nothing like Ryan Russillo. He's got a bag labeled chicken and rice, as if that's a restaurant that he got takeout from. And he's got, of course, his Boston Celtics looking shorts, and he's walking through fireworks. There was also some pencil artwork, some sketching, if you will. This thing's indescribable. This is the perk of watching on YouTube and not listening on the pod.
Yeah. YouTube channel, Chalk Media, Greenlight Pod, Fishbowl, all of it is free.
It's also fire.
On the internet.
Yeah, so check that. Shout out to the artists who chefed that up and sent it to Ryan's DMs.
I have a lot of thoughts. I was an avid listener of the Ryan Russillo show. We started doing this show. I have a bit less time, so thank you for that recap. Fireworks.
Evidently, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please.
Evidently, the show sucks with me on it, according to a lot of NBA bros they miss their old Russillo solo.
They have them on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Yeah, just enjoy Wednesday and Friday
and
just
the NFL
shut the
season,
fuck up.
NFL season's almost over, so we get our Ryan
You can talk
Russillo
about PACE6. You can talk about next gen stats and analytics and the Milwaukee Bucks, Phoenix Suns. Well, Bucks are actually good, and Suns are pretty good now too.
That's NBA with C Long.
Yep.
Fireworks are the most overrated thing in the world. You just let that lie. At first, I was like, basketball alone, but then I realized I go get shots up alone all the time.
You do?
Yeah. I haven't since this torn bicep that you haven't asked me about since I first told you. So I haven't been able to do that in a few months.
Yeah, about that bicep. How's it doing?
Not well. You might want to factor that into the weight approximation.
There's got to be at least a couple ounces that we're missing from that bicep.
Well, I'm not getting the curls in.
Yeah, you're not.
Dude.
Yeah.
And we were at like 35 pounds. And that might be all of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, me and Russillo went through things that are acceptable to do alone. I think there's a number of things that are acceptable to do alone. I love
like everything.
Like almost everything. Yeah, I mean, like literally the list of things I'd rather do with other people is way shorter than my list of things I'd like to do alone.
Heck yeah.
Other people, raising a family.
Right.
Being on a sports team. Can't do it alone. Other than that,
I'm a tennis player.
Going to the movies, you hit it off the wall.
Right, or I could, have my singular career.
Yeah, that's true. But you also need somebody to play against. So you're not really doing it alone. Yeah. I would just say like going to a bar, sitting at like a dive bar that's not packed. Sitting at a packed bar alone is awkward. Sitting at a bar that's moderately full or empty is nice alone. Just talking to the bartender, taking it all in, staring at your phone.
Yeah.
I love to do that. Also, going to a restaurant alone is not bad. Movies,
great.
Perfectly acceptable.
Yes. And also I would say smoking doobies and listening to Otis Redding now that my football career's over. And
I like the new attitude today.
Yeah, thanks.
He's actually going to add something to some of these segments, not just sit there like he's mute.
Thanks.
So yeah, I would say going to a concert alone. Speaking of Otis
you're
Redding,
still going. Okay,
is nice. Doing podcasts alone is nice.
Coming soon.
Yeah, one of these days. We just have to find somebody who can do what Macon does, which is going to be hard.
You just said doing it alone, bro. That would mean nobody else would be here.
Yeah, you're right. Totally fucked that up. I totally fucked that up. We were talking about Russillo's art. I also saw Dalvin Cook hold up an oxygen mask to his ear this weekend. Any working theories on what's going on here would be great. He has to be joking, but it doesn't look like anybody else is in on the joke. He's listening to that oxygen mask like it's a phone.
Yeah, and typically the booth isn't calling down to the running back.
No.
Yeah.
So what's going on there?
I don't know. Maybe he was just seeing if he could get air in through his ear.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I checked to make sure he wasn't concussed. I know he had an injury. It was a shoulder. So for anybody, we're not being insensitive. I don't think he was. I think he had all his faculties.
Well, in fairness, have you ever put one of those up to your ear?
Never.
So maybe he was just curious.
Never have.
Seeing if he could hear the ocean.
Never have. This is a complete non sequitur, but I want to do a list.
Oh. I
wanted to, I was looking at the Babe Ruth home run bat that went for $1 million this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was it $1 million or was it more? Do you remember? Did you see?
No, but what I'll do is...
You'll hit the Google machine while I'm
right.
talking about it. So 500 home runs, I guess. It goes for $1 million. We'll see how I'm doing on that. Also, we were talking about last week, how much I want Waylon's Cadillac.
Yeah.
And that dude up in Canada has it.
Yeah, Brad. He's not just a dude,
No, he's a government dude.
Yeah, former.
Good dude.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about his politics, so we're not getting political on this pod. 1.08 million. Okay. So what reminded me is we did the Waylon's Cadillac thing. And you were sharp enough to, when Brad Wall was located on Twitter, to at me. And me and Brad Wall had a nice little conversation. He, of course, is a former government dude. What did he do in the parliament up there?
Saskatchewan Premier. And a listener made the first link. So shout out. Yeah.
Shout out to the listener. So Waylon's Lac is in Saskatchewan. To no avail. Our pleadings to get the Cadillac and possess it here in Virginia. Brad's not parting ways with it. I don't blame him. But we had a good conversation. I was thinking about other memorabilia that I wonder where it is or what it's worth. Since we're starting with cars, not to start on too dark a note, but where's OJ's Bronco?
You're a big double murder guy, I know.
Oh, God. No, I'm not. I'm really not, but I do love a 1995 Bronco.
You did have a black Bronco once upon a time.
Nice con attempt. I still have it. Will you look up where OJ's Bronco is?
Sure.
That'd be great.
Janet, impounded some?
You think?
I don't know.
You don't think anybody has that? They're selling his memorabilia as we speak.
You read that article?
Yeah.
Heisman?
Yeah. No, I think a guy told me. Janet Jackson's bra. Yeah, might want to lay out of this one from the Super Bowl show, the halftime show. She could probably auction that off for a lot of money. By the way, was that a wardrobe malfunction or was that a stunt?
Stunt.
Steve Bartman's headphones?
Yeah.
Where could those be? Probably in the possession of Steve Bartman.
Might have tossed him.
You think?
It was a bad night for him.
It was a really bad night for him. You think he tossed them right when he left the stadium?
No. I think after some time, when he realized that his life had changed forever, probably like, this is a bad memory.
I'm imagining him like just rushing out of the stadium and just throwing him in the bushes somewhere so he's not identified, as if the cameras aren't going to be able to accurately depict the guy who caught the ball. I think after the World Series title, if he'd have held on to those could fetch north of $100K, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Okay. How about the baseball that hit the bird, Randy Johnson's?
That could fetch $40.
You don't think more than that?
Well, it's like, hey, this ball here.
Murdered a bird.
Yeah.
At 100 miles an hour.
Right.
I do think that there would be some value there. I think it's north of $400 or $40. Holyfield's ear? What did they do with Holyfield's ear?
There have been stories about this. Maybe we should have Googled.com most of these things.
Well, no, I mean, I'm laying them up to you. Maybe you know something I don't know.
I don't. I think they probably put it on ice in an effort to. Didn't they reattach?
Like a John Bobbitt thing with an ear. You remember John Bobbitt? You laugh. You know what happened to John Bobbitt?
Was that his name? I remember Lorena better. John Wayne Bobbitt, I believe, was his.
What happened?
Was his name?
So what happened for the listeners out there?
No, I don't quite remember. You go ahead.
Lorena Bobbitt took his unit off of his person and tossed it onto a highway, if I remember correctly, in like a bag. Probably a penis fish is what most people probably thought. But evidently they reattached it. They threw it on ice. I wonder what happened to Holyfield's ear.
I think they did some reconstructive surgery with the piece.
Really?
Yeah. Stick around
good for him. Yeah.
Robust corrections.
Bobby Knight's chair.
Now I'm on board.
You're on board now.
That's cool.
That's cool?
I would want to bring folks to the house and say, you won't believe what this is.
You think it's cool for the establishment, for coaches to threaten and hit unpaid athletes with a chair?
Yeah, that chair didn't land on anyone.
But it was in the direction of athletes. And for a guy...
Fans, I think. I think it was away from the benches, bro. He was on the bench.
He could have hit a player. There were players on the court. And he also choked a guy. By the way, I do have a Bobby Knight basketball.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
We should mention before this gets too far down the road, it was Al Cowling's Bronco. Technically, it wasn't OJ's Bronco.
It was Al's. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And it might still be in circulation here, so we'll get to that at the end of the show. Yeah.
Yeah, not that I want to put a bid in. I wonder what it is doing. You ever wonder what OJ's Bronco is doing right now? I do. Especially because it was a beautiful Bronco. Al Cowlings.
Yeah, his Bronco.
I think it had blue interior, which is a pimple on the Madonna, and by that I'm talking artwork.
I got you.
Into that, a blue interior or red interior, vintage SUV is just a total waste. Also, T.O.'s Sharpie was thrown in there. Cowboy Reed threw that one in there. T.O.'s Sharpie, where's that? There's no way it's anywhere. Had to get discarded that day.
Agreed.
Joe Horn's cell phone could, Joe Horn of the recent scandal. By the way, he was caught up in that. Lawrence Taylor's fire ladder.
Talk to me about that.
Lawrence Taylor used to sneak out of his hotel and the team hotel and the dorms as well to go do whatever Lawrence Taylor did after dark, and needed a fire ladder to escape, to avoid detection from the guy that sits by the elevator with the bed checklist. And he had this fire ladder that he would lower down. And I wonder where that is. I think that could fetch a lot of money. How about the Pete Rose betting slip? Or a Pete Rose betting slip?
Right.
Any interest?
No.
No interest.
Fire ladder, yeah.
Okay. How about Michael Jordan's Barons jersey?
Oh, you mean that T-shirt you wear every other day?
Yeah, that one.
There's nobody near this chair throw of Bobby Knight's. Yeah.
There's nobody near it.
Mm-mm.
Not even close.
I mean, it gets close to photographers on the baseline toward the end.
Wow. So you don't care about the photographers, the people that work hard. You should know, of all people who does spotting and has been in that business, that everybody matters on game day, and everybody's got a job to do. I just think it's a little insensitive. How about Barry Bonds' pirate hat that won't fit him anymore? You like that one?
Yeah, that's good.
There's no way Barry Bonds is fitting into one of the hats from when he was a pirate.
Agreed.
Sweat stains and all. Did you have any?
Yeah. I got a couple from Cinema.
Okay.
Joe Boo bobblehead.
Love it.
Gordie Howe jersey from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, worn by Alan Ruck as Cameron.
Wonder where that is.
Yeah.
I do.
Could be somewhere.
Chances are it is somewhere.
And here's
Unless
what I'm wondering.
Was incinerated.
Is there somebody, are there multiple people who have sat on press rows in NBA arenas who, when LBJ does his dust deal, are they like trying to catch particles
of in big games,
put them in a baggie
of the chalk,
and be like, hey, this was LeBron's chalk that he clapped up into the air.
I think it would be hard to collect any of it.
Agreed.
But
it would be the saddest.
It would be very sad. I still have confetti from the Super Bowls. I made sure to go out there after and get all of it I could.
Yep.
Easier to store than baby powder. Or chalk.
Yeah. I have plenty of grass, not your kind of grass, but Scott Stadium grass from games in the mid-90s. And I wrote on little baggies. And it's not as cool in hindsight when it's like, we beat number 21 Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit like us rushing the field against Florida State this year. We could have waited for Virginia Tech.
Nah, man, let the people have fun no matter what.
The people should have fun.
I think that's all I got. If just in general, people I would want stuff from sports across the spectrum.
Mostly not murderers.
Right.
Also not dudes who choke college athletes.
Richard Petty. Give me some sunglasses or a hat or something.
He walked by me one time.
Ditto.
Yeah.
He had, I think, a grandson go to the school I went to in Richmond and came for something.
I feel like you told me that because I went to a NASCAR race and I walked by Richard Petty, hat and all, aura. Rick James aura.
Yeah.
This cat does have an aura.
Yep.
I mean, he was in the tunnel and it was like, this was in Martinsville. Lovely race.
Yeah.
Lovely race.
Does a denim, I guess this would play at a NASCAR race.
Denim would be, a black denim jacket would not play.
I need to be that light blue.
It needs to be light blue, and it can't be like, one you buy that's tarnished already. It has to be like authentically tarnished.
Okay.
And a Canadian tuxedo can go a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And I like to dabble there, but I think that would have a hard time going in a NASCAR race. Unless you were like Marty Smith and you were in that section with the trendy NASCAR guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think in the infield that you're going to see a lot of black denim jackets.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I want to give you the floor for a minute to talk about your fantasy finish.
Yeah.
Crash and burn.
Thank you. I know there are many fantasy bad beats out there, including ones that involve this play, but I'm a one league fantasy guy. Pulled into 2 this year because of you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get back to 1 next year.
You're going to not be in our league? Or are you going to
the
focus?
Other way around. I had a lot of fun.
That's great.
And leagues are great when you can get everybody in one room, your buddies, local. It was a wonderful afternoon at Boylan Heights, a local establishment.
Shout out to Boylan Heights.
But as it turns out, because Drew Brees had such a great evening on Monday night, I would have won a league if not for what turned out to be that San Francisco-Atlanta lateral at the end of the game, which gave the Falcons a 10-point win instead of a whatever it was going to be. Because, I'll get to it here, Raheem Mostert was the last person to possess the ball on those laterals and threw it all the way across the field.
That is so fucked up.
And instead of the ball just rolling out of bounds or a San Francisco player pouncing on it, our guy, Olamide Zaccheaus, scooped, scored,
Yep.
and it's ruled a fumble by Mostert, -2 points. I lose by 9/10, and that's why fantasy football is the absolute worst, despite how much fun we had with it this year.
I had a lot of fun.
Which is shocking because you never really went to the website.
That was the joke.
Oh, got it.
I did not spend a lot of time on the website, but the draft was fun.
Yeah. But fantasy is awful.
Sorry, I've been dealing with it. Like I've been dealing with a little bit of what you had the last 88 days.
We need to have like a 0 days since this studio has
had germs in it.
Infected.
You know what's great about that fantasy draft though is every dude in there has an excuse to go drink on a day you're probably not going to get the pass to go drink on.
Yeah,
the other guys are doing it. It's for a league.
Yeah, I drank water.
Yeah, you drank water. I had a couple beers. Speaking of Drew Brees and having a great night, Monday night was interesting. Firstly, though, one of your favorites, Booger, had a telestrator thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen one in a while.
Did anybody see this screen grab of Booger's rendering?
A spaceship.
What he's doing here is he's it looks like he's describing a split safety look and the the void in the zone there.
Yeah.
And he ends up drawing what looks to be a potato and 2 cherry tomatoes.
Yeah.
Or a penis.
Mm.
That would be a chode. You ever use that word on a podcast? Never thought I would, but Booger drew a chode on Monday night in the middle of a split safety zone. Can I talk about Drew Brees now?
Yep.
You'd be excited for me to get to it. Monday was cool though. I condolences to your fantasy team.
Yeah, thanks.
But Monday was fun. I mean, for a game that was pretty meaningless otherwise to have that kind of atmosphere. I mean, it's a team that's out of it in the Colts, visiting a team that you wondered if they were going to have a little bit of a letdown like, San Francisco did coming off that slugfest. They did not look fatigued. They did not look like they were let down. Of course, they had a lot to play for, and they had, of course, Drew Brees' records to play for and home field advantage to be gunning for a big playoff race for them. Drew came into the game needing 3 passing touchdowns on Monday Night Football to break Peyton's record of 539. Only Sammy Baugh has had the yardage, touchdowns, and completion percentage simultaneously. And you can add completions in total to that list with Drew now. By the way, he got it pretty easily. And John Kuhn of the Packers fullback fame had this to say. This was one of the more interesting, loaded reactions. Congratulations to Drew Brees on being the NFL all-time passing TD leader, hardest working player I've ever seen. Proof that you do actually get out what you put into things. Wow. Was that a subliminal? Do you take that as a subliminal or just oversight?
In reference to former teammates?
Yeah.
I think it's just a nice compliment.
I think it was too. You'd have to really dislike the guy you lined up behind for a while to do that intentionally. I think we get into this thing now where really good players get ironically easily offended and slighted. I can't stand it. Like I used to walk around all the time in Philly, and when people would ask me about Aaron Donald, I say he's the best defensive player in the game. He's the best defensive tackle in the game. Fletcher Cox never got offended.
Yeah.
They're 1A and 1B, but, Aaron's been the most dominant. There's nothing wrong with being fucking awesome at something and there be better players than you. And that's what we've gotten into in pro sports is everything is a slight. I was typing that I thought the other night that TJ Watt deserved to be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year, although I think it's Gilmore. And I think it's Minkah Fitzpatrick before it would be TJ. But I said the caveat is I'm talking about front 7 guys. And I literally had to think about who I might be offending before sending that tweet. Luckily, it was nobody sensitive. Cam Jordan's had a tremendous year. Shaq Barrett's had a tremendous year. But no guy's had more of a tremendous year on a unit that seems to be tied into directly the way he's playing and carrying a team the way that Pittsburgh has. So I just think we've gotten to this. That's my sensitivity rant. It's over.
John Kuhn also says player I've ever seen. I think it lands differently if he had said player I've ever played with.
That's why you're here. You know, I would have never picked up on that. But I think at the same time, we do have an issue with sensitivity in pro sports now. Some of the best players are the most sensitive. So
I want to do a quarterback draft with you.
We're going to do it Friday.
Which will include Drew Brees, and I hope you can handle.
Where are you going to put him?
Maybe offending a player or two.
Yeah, I might. It's more than anything. It's something I don't take lightly. You know, ranking these quarterbacks.
Yeah,
it's why I got in the biz to do quarterback rankings.
Right.
So we'll do it Friday. But again, he needed 3 passing touchdowns on Monday to break Peyton's record. He did it with ease. Goes 29 of 30. If you're on the other end of that, and I've been on 1 or 2 of those games, nothing like that, obviously, because it turned out to be a record. That's a single game record for completion percentage. I think it was 96%. You're like, what do I do? I mean, as a rusher, the ball's gone. He's carving you up. They're playing that song. Here we come to get crunk. You know that song? They play it every time they score a touchdown.
Oh, when the Saints.
Yeah, no, they play. They're more into. They do the
marching in.
They do the Little John thing. Or no, that's not Little John. That's Yin Yang Twins. I'm not going to make that mistake twice in a year. But yeah, they play that. You know, Drew's setting records. You're like, there's nothing I can do to defend this guy. And the Colts look hapless. Michael Thomas, of course, had 11 catches. Well, he's got 11 catches to go before he passes that Marvin Harrison single-season record for receptions. That would be great. I think he's going to do it maybe this Sunday the way it's going. I think he deserves it. He's one of the hardest working guys. He's a big receiver. It's fun to watch him play and use that big body and length. Drew you go into the season and you're like, who is Drew throwing to other than Michael Thomas and Kamara underneath? Well, he hit 9 different guys for 307 yards last night. He has been that distributor his entire career. He's more Peyton than Brady. You know, he does have some limitations in arm strength and whatnot, but he always knows where to go with the football. And there's nobody that works harder. I mean, to John Kuhn's point, Reggie Bush, a former teammate of Drew's, and by the way, they had all the Saints back last night. Did you see that from the Super Bowl run?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody looked really young. They're living right. They haven't even... Pierre Thomas, I thought he was like a college kid. But Reggie Bush was taping Drew Brees in the indoor on a Saturday, going through his pass sets, I guess you would call it, for a quarterback. His drop backs, like different, 3-step, 7-step, whatever, his footwork in the pocket. And there's nobody in the indoor. And a lot of times guys that do extra work after, and I'm doing with the quotes for those of you listening, are actually just, they're doing something with it. They're angling for somebody to see them. When I hear about Drew Brees, the first thing I hear about is his obsession with football and his work ethic and his perfectionism. I believe it. I believe that, and Reggie is in there narrating this. He's just marveling from a corner of the indoor. I've never seen anything like that. A guy after walk through an hour and a half later on a Saturday, let alone a Hall of Famer. He wanted this record bad, but that's probably just a glimpse into his weekly routine. So, we've got 2 records, his record in play, and you've also got the Mike Thomas record. But, and by the way, Booger last night said that Mike Thomas needs to change his Twitter handle too, and I wrote this down. Best hands in the game. So I think Mike Thomas might watch the TV copy and then change "Can't Guard Mike" to "Best hands in the game."
Booger also told me when we had a field level angle that this is neat because it's a field level angle. and different than what we normally see.
I can't. I don't hate Booger at all. It's a tough job. Again, the biggest Trojan horse in sports is being the color analyst who's just fucking holding on for dear life, knowing you're getting ripped on Twitter.com and across America. I also think that Twitter is just a cesspool for criticism, and most people in their living rooms, I wonder if they actually hate Booger without logging on. That's how much bias do you have when you open your timeline and read the room? There's been some times where I've liked things that Booger said. We're not going to go too far down the Booger road. But again, last night, I was marveling at this guy. He's 81% completion going into last night against zone coverage. Teams keep doing it, and part of it is you don't want to have to double Mike or
best hands in the game.
Best hands in the game. Can't guard Mike. You don't want to double him. You don't want him running free, but it certainly looks like he's throwing to just wide open guys on the regular when he sees zone. He always knows where to go. As soon as they threw that graphic up, he hit somebody for a 20-yard touchdown. I think that's what Booger was describing with his rendition of the dudes from Superbad drawing dicks. He still moves great. I mean, did you see that pressure they brought with 31 on the edge? And this really jumps out at me because when you're an unblocked player and you are a blitzer or an edge rusher on the ball side of a quarterback, one of the hardest things to do, they always say, upfield shoulder. That's the hardest thing to do because you're running full speed at a target that's looking this way but can definitely see you. The good ones can. And can evade you because if you go too high on that shoulder, he's just going to duck underneath. Russell Wilson does a great job of that. He also does a great job of spinning out of the back of the pocket if you're too tight on him. And Brees, at 41 years old, is still moving really well in the pocket. Him and Brady have redefined what it means to be mobile as quarterbacks. And it never ceases to amaze me how a guy that old, and part of it might be that he's just been short. He's been on his toes for 20 years throwing a football. His vision has to be crazy. He looks downfield and he's making throws, evading the rush. Good quarterbacks don't have to look at the rush.
It's incredible. He's listed at 6 feet. He's always looking up and over his line.
He's on his toes when he releases the ball.
It's unbelievable.
And then again on that touchdown on the OPI, sorry.
I would have won it.
Yeah, the touchdown on the OPI, which would have, I think, tied the record, and it was a phantom call.
I think that would have said it.
He used He used his feet really well on that one too. The question is, are they going to do a graphic every time Tom passes him and he passes?
Right.
I don't think we have to worry about that. No offense to Tom, but the way things are going up in New England, Drew looks like he can play another 4 years in this system. He's got a Mike Thomas. He's got Alvin Kamara. He's got the play calling that he has. I mean, so
right.
I don't think we're going to have do you think Brady passes him again?
No.
I don't think so either.
I mean, we're talking about passing touchdowns, and Tom throws it to Jules or James White.
Yeah.
Both are great, but they're not that.
It's not Mike Thomas and Kamara.
They're not that red zone threat like Thomas is.
Exactly. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about the graphic, but what a long, strange run it's been for Drew Brees. You think about Drew Brees, and before looking back at this, you're like, this guy who's just had it good his entire career. He's been great the entire time. His team's been great. The Saints, since Hurricane Katrina, have been dominant, right? Since they were, since that magical game, I think it was on Monday night or Sunday night or what, they haven't looked back. Well, it's been a long run, and people forget about the Chargers. I'm certain that a lot of young people watching that game don't remember the team he was on first in San Diego. Not just that, but the 2011 draft class. Vic, Brees, Quincy Carter, Tuiasosopo, Winky, Rosenfels, Palmer, McMahon, Feely, Booty, and Heupel.
McMahon?
Yeah, that was on the list. Huh. I don't know who that is.
Okay.
Do you have a guess? How many of these guys can you get their colleges correct?
That's what I was doing.
You're
going to
do it to me?
I think I can do it.
Okay, Vic.
Tech.
Brees.
Purdue.
Quincy Carter.
Georgia.
Tuiasosopo.
Washington.
Winky.
Florida State.
Rosenfels.
Iowa State.
Good job. Jesse Palmer.
Florida.
McMahon.
Who is McMahon?
I don't know. I don't even know who he is. The tweet came from actually, ironically, Sage Rosenfels, who's a great Twitter follow and a really good dude who was being, he said, quarterbacks are a lot like a box of chocolates. Look at this draft class. You don't know what's going to be what. So
is there anybody else on the list?
Feely.
Oh. I don't know where he went to
Oregon.
school. Okay.
Booty.
LSU.
Yeah. And Heupel.
Oklahoma. I'll say McMahon went to A&M, and I don't know who McMahon is.
I'm going to say BYU.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Maybe he's related to Jim McMahon. But Brees is part of that class that was largely pretty poor. Passed up on early, obviously, because Mike Vick was the thing, and Drew was 6 foot. And of course, Vick reinvented the way the positions played. So, although you could say you'd rather have Brees than Vick, Vick has done a lot historically for the league. Brees is blown off by San Diego largely. He was an afterthought. I mean, they drafted him. He stepped in for Flutie when Flutie was injured, and then Flutie took his job again. Imagine Drew Brees, the guy who just broke all those records, at one point getting benched for Doug Flutie. And then Phillip Rivers, who has been a Hall of Famer in his own right, is the guy. And they let him walk. He goes to free agency. Here's the most interesting part. Miami almost picks him up. Nick Saban led Miami Dolphins. He fails a physical there. Physicals in the NFL, you can kind of, if you want to fail it, you can fail it. If you want to pass it, you can pass it. So I don't know if there was like a motivation with Saban, just fail him. We don't want him. Or if it was they wanted him, but they weren't confident in the shoulder. But they ended up with, I think it was Culpepper. And it's funny to me to think Saban and Bill are so tight. What if they had this master plan all along to protect Brady and the Pats not having another Hall of Famer in division? There's no fucking way that's true, but it'd be fun to think about. I don't know what that division looks like if it's Brady and Brees. One of the biggest things for the Pats has been the security within that division. And so it's interesting, you talk about a butterfly effect, Ashton Kutcher style. What could happen? How would it look differently? But his career, it's not just the fact that he was in San Diego and gets passed up and ends up in New Orleans. It's the fact that he's been 7-9 5 times in a run since 2006 in New Orleans. The playoffs were less automatic than I realized. And that plays into, I always thought there was this blue blood team the last 10, 15 years. They haven't been. Even with him putting up outer space numbers. I think a lot of it, and the irony here is, after last night, he said, I wouldn't be here without Sean Payton. Well, that's true, but I'm not sure you wouldn't be even better if Sean relinquished some of that institutional control. I don't know who was picking all those coordinators on defense, but they were bad for a long stretch. And it's not just Brees that didn't make the playoffs. I mean, Rivers hasn't made it 7 times. Brady, amazingly, and Manning 1 and 2 times, respectively, that they weren't in the playoffs, which has to do with Tom, not just his greatness, but that division. With Manning, I think it's just remarkable as well. Eli, 10 times. Brees, 6 times with the Saints and 3 with the Chargers, but you can't really count the Chargers. I won't. Rodgers, 3 times, and both of the last 2 years. Roethlisberger, 5 times. So that's an interesting way to look at quarterbacks, is how often can they will their teams with regularity over a decade-plus span into the playoffs. That puts Drew Brees right in the middle of that crop of quarterbacks who are kind of going away right now. Right in the middle. And I think most people would say Brady or Manning are the GOATs, and then after that you have maybe Brees and some other players. But the irony there is if he didn't have Peyton, sure, he wouldn't be the same, but if Peyton wasn't controlling the defense in the decision-making as far as who he's hiring to control the defense, I think they'd be a lot better off. Saints defenses over his span in New Orleans, and I mean Brees, 27th in yards, if you netted all that, and 25th in points per game since 2006. In 4 out of the 5 of the 7 win seasons, they've been 30th or worse in yards per game. So, even the Super Bowl year, they were bottom 10 in defense. 2007 is the only outlier at 7-9. They weren't in the 30s, and there's only 3 teams in the 30s defensively. So, all things considered, I mean, it's been
It's wild. That's wild.
It is wild.
With the 18th pick in the 5th round, 149 overall, the Detroit Lions selected Mike McMahon, quarterback out of Rutgers.
Rutgers, fuck. They have a Mormon contingency at Rutgers.
Right. Eight picks after Billy Baber, tight end Virginia.
Wow. Yeah, I was just talking about Billy Baber on Sunday, actually, coincidentally. Nice. Billy Baber, pride of Western Albemarle High School.
That's right.
Was he bigger than the tight ends of my generation at UVA? Bigger than Tom Saney?
Bigger how?
Bigger in stature. Same size? Comparable?
Literal size?
Yeah.
Baber, 6'4", 260.
I think he was just a touch bigger. He wasn't as big as I remember because those guys in that era, they were all like giants to me, no matter who they were, because I was a kid. So there's a Billy Baber tangent. So I have to wonder, and I don't know, I'm no psychologist, but I'm looking at Brees, and he's this guy who's always taking the high road, never complaining, never talks shit about anybody. But I know internally as a competitor, somebody that driven can't possibly think that Tom Brady is better than them. Even though I'm not saying he's better, I'm not making it. I think Brady's the GOAT because of the throws he can make and the championships and all that. But you've got to wonder if he's looking at Brady up north and he's like, well, this guy's always had continuity, defenses for the most part, stable coaching staff, more stable at least defensively than what he's had in New Orleans. You wonder if looking at Sean Payton, as good as he's been as an offensive play caller, well, everything that Bill does is as good as Sean Payton does as an offensive play caller. Like, so exhaustively, the way they do that program is to that standard that Sean does offense. And I wonder sometimes if Drew's like, damn, dude, I'm the GOAT, bro. I got all these records. I don't know if there's a comp in another sport where a guy, somebody that scored more than Jordan but didn't have the championships. I don't think there is, because I think when you look at NBA scoring, it goes Kareem. Karl Malone actually scored more. Maybe Karl Malone would be one, but there's no real comp in another sport because these are quarterbacks, and there's a big rift in how we evaluate quarterbacks. Some people are like QB wins only. Some people are just, into the stats.
Well, and as you've said, Drew and the Saints have had to deal with runs by the Falcons, Panthers, and Bucks in the NFC South throughout his career.
Exactly. There. It's amazing how many times they not only didn't make the playoffs, didn't win the division, but also went 7-9.
Yeah.
If you go through his career, it's been funny. There's 7-9 in 2007. 2008, they make the playoffs, but he has a historic year. 2009, that's the Super Bowl year. What if it's not for that onside kick?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, holy shit. If we're sitting here and Drew Brees doesn't have a championship yet, I'm rooting for him anyways. 2010, 41-36, they lost in the Beastquake game. That was the game that, sorry about that, Drew. We gave you Seattle that week. You could have been playing us. You would have carved us up like a Thanksgiving turkey, but instead you got Marshawn Lynch running over your whole defense at, what is it? Quest? What do we call that up there? Seattle?
CenturyLink?
CenturyLink, never mind. 2011, they lost in the divisional playoffs to the Niners. I barely remember that game. 12, they go 7-9. 13, they lose to the Super Bowl champion Seahawks in the divisional round. 14's a bad year. 15, 16, 7-9. Here's the craziest thing about the Saints that will really blow you away. The last 3 years, including this year, are by far their most consistent and best years. There has not been a more consistent run by them. And a lot of it has to do with the defense getting under control and being able to play complementary football and not having to win every game 41-36. But in 17, you got the Minnesota Miracle. 18, you have the Rams robbery. The scariest thing for this league, as old as he is that he looks pretty damn good. Him and Sean look like they're still clicking. You've got a number one wideout. You've got Kamara. And this is the best 3-year stretch as a team they've had. I don't know how much longer he can do this. I know last year, at the end of the year, they were wondering what was wrong with his arm. You know, four out of the last 5 games last year, you look at his yardage total passing, it was 200 yards a game. And it's an alarm for him. It's funny. You wonder if this thumb thing gave him the juice he needed from an arm standpoint late in the season. People wondered that coming out. But if they win a Super Bowl this year, they'll have overcome what they did in 17 with Minnesota. They'll have overcome last year's call. They'll have overcome a thumb surgery, being lights out with a backup. And it will be one of the most impressive runs I've ever seen by a team, because it takes so much to get back off the mat after you lose a Super Bowl, or after you lose a big game. And NFC Championship was as bad a loss as I've seen deep in the playoffs in recent history. And for a guy who's waiting a decade, the Minnesota Miracle doesn't feel great either. I'm sure that Drew, part of him as a younger player, the last 10 years, he said, I'd really love to have my defining moment where I can really soak it in more. And I think it would be a beautiful, beautiful thing for that city, for him, for that group, if they can finish on top. Of all the teams I'm kind of pulling for in the playoffs, they're one of them.
What's his career-long throw, you think?
After catch?
Yeah, total.
83 yards to... No, I'll go Reggie Bush, 76 yards.
98 yards to Brandon Cooks in 2016.
Wow. Versus whom?
Longest in Saints history.
You don't know.
Well, versus whom is an easy question to answer.
Yeah.
Oakland Raiders.
Don't remember it. Marcus Colston was in the house last night. Marcus Colston caught a lot of touchdown passes from him. I saw a stat today, and I could have misread it, that he caught 72.
That's a lot.
Or no, it was maybe 72 players, and he had the most touchdowns. Clear that up for me, will you?
I'll do my best.
Another thing is
72 tuds.
72 tuds. Pretty impressive. I wanted to do a segment that would be more fun. Brands and football players. I think some of these ideas are terrific that we came up with. Or they don't have to be football players. They can be any athlete. What our job is to do is to figure out which athlete would be the best marriage for a brand or a product. Like, for instance, I think Phillip Rivers, he should have got a Disney World commercial yesterday. The commercial would be simple. You load up his entire family on a roller coaster, and everybody's pissed off. They're like, when do we get to use the roller coaster? The joke, of course, is he has a lot of children. But I think that would be a slam dunk from a marketing perspective. Did you have any?
Yeah, I have a bunch.
You have a bunch?
Yeah.
You want to go 1 and 1?
Okay. Southwest Airlines want to get away. Odell Beckham.
Yes.
He just always wants out.
He does want out.
Okay. Mine are going to be quick.
Okay. Let's do a new Apple commercial about parental control settings for your kids' devices. Antonio Brown. Just shut that shit. Antonio Brown. AB's using Twitter. New setting. Probably not a new setting at all. My kid is 3. My other kid is 1. They don't need cell phones yet. So I'll cross that bridge when it comes to it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Nike. They say just do it. I got Jameis Winston. I feel like in his head, he's just do it,
he's
man.
He's just doing it. Just
his brain is like, should I throw this?
Throw it.
Just do it, man.
Just do it.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Thank you.
I think George Kittle would be a great Harley Davidson pitch man.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Okay.
That's spot on. I got a lot, Chris, here.
Yeah, just fire them.
Rolaids. How do you spell relief? That's Sean Doolittle.
Oh, I like that. John Doolittle, friend of the program.
Okay, I like this one.
World Series champ.
Verizon. Can you hear me now?
I'm doing Verizon.
Okay, who's yours?
Go ahead.
Mine has to do with the tagline, "Can you hear me now?" And it's Dak Prescott from "We want to kick, we want to kick, we defer,
That's
we want to kick."
Amazing.
It would have to be very
people are going to make money off this shit.
Well, better get it into production now because people are going to forget about that coin toss pretty quickly.
No, I guess. All I'm saying is people are going to get rich off this and we don't get a cut. And there are
all
ideas.
of this is
intellectual.
trademarked.
This is all intellectual
IP.
property that we've trademarked.
Your college coach did elect to kick off twice on a couple of occasions, I believe.
Algro.
Yes.
Our defense was that good.
And so I get when the official
And so
you gotta make clear that you're
Bill
deferring.
Belichick, eBay.
Okay.
Hear me out. Not just the repurposed goods, a la players that he brings out the best in. Also, he might buy and sell electronics.
Yeah. While wearing a hoodie
You got it.
with food on it. Sprite, obey your thirst. I googled thirstiest athlete. Joel Embiid.
Joel is not the thirstiest athlete.
There he is. Can't offend. Airbnb.
No, it's not true. There's just simply more thirsty athletes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Airbnb, belong anywhere. Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh, I was going to say Michael Bennett for Airbnb because he's been on a bunch of teams lately. I was going to say maybe Zillow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Michael Bennett has a beautiful family. He's hilarious. I think he'd be great in a Zillow commercial. Like, need a pass rusher?
I like it.
Yeah.
KFC, finger licking good. Jameis Winston, slam dunk. He eats W's.
Yes, he does eat W's. I like that one a lot. Sorry, I was looking for my
fingers.
next one. I missed a jewel there. All right. So how about
maybe a big laugh we can put in? No, a big laugh.
Okay. Lego. How about Legos?
Okay.
Ben Roethlisberger. Just somebody just putting them back together.
Trying to figure out how to put them back together.
Just kids like, how do we put Big Ben back together? Oh, here's his walking boot.
Yeah.
Oh,
is this place haunted?
This is hilarious. Okay, so Dr. Fax is taking a nap on the couch in there. Dr. Fax, why don't you come out here? He doesn't have a mic, so Dr. Fax is using my office to take a nap right now. Friend of the program, Nate Collins.
Bass Pro Shops. Duck Hodges.
Oh, that's great.
His name's Duck Hodges.
I love that. Yeah, that works. Dr. Fax.
What up, Fax?
What's up, man?
What's that for?
Lions.
What?
The Lions.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that face.
Yeah, so last week he thought the Lions were going to beat the Vikings. I appreciate that.
It's unclear to me whether Nate knows that we're doing a pod right now or not.
Well, he's going to be sitting. He's just sitting in the back. He doesn't have a microphone, so anything he says, I'm going to have to repeat.
That's a sick tracksuit deal.
Like it?
Yeah.
I just got it.
Yeah, he just got his tracksuit.
One good thing happened that on my birthday.
Yes. Happy birthday to Nate Collins, who, by the way, is doing the I had a birthday thing on the pod.
Allstate, you're in good hands with Allstate.
Yeah.
So I went a different way here. Force fumbles.
Yeah.
You know, a guy who forces a bunch of fumbles is going to be the spokesperson.
Yeah.
Guess who the all-time leader in forced fumbles is? They started keeping that in about 93, so it's recent folks.
John Abraham.
Robert Mathis.
Yes.
But my spokesperson is the number 2 guy, Julius Peppers.
Yeah.
With 52. T. Sizzle is 11th.
Yeah.
And active Chiefs with 37. How many forced fumbles do you have in your career?
Me?
Yep.
Man, like 17, 16.
You're tied for 134 with 15.
15. I was right on.
You're ahead of...
Is Peanut Tillman on that?
Well, I'm surely he is, but I only took notes on a few.
Okay.
You're ahead of Philip Daniels.
Okay, that's good. He was my D-line coach.
That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah.
Brain's always working.
Yeah.
You're ahead of Rob Ninkovich.
Nice. Good. My friend.
Marcellus Wiley.
TV guy.
Hugh Douglas.
Good player.
Troy Polamalu.
Great player.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper. My man freaking Olamide Zacchaeus, which cost me the fantasy
I thought you were gonna
game.
do Greg Williams, and I was like, yeah, you know what?
That's good.
Yeah, that's so Nate's suggestion, evidently he'd been listening to the pod and not sleeping. He yelled, Mr. Potato Head would be perfect for Ben Roethlisberger because you have to put him back together.
That's good.
Or Operation. You remember that game when we were kids?
Yeah.
The fucking young millennials won't remember that. How about Walmart? You just get the entire Cincinnati front office in there because they don't pay. The opposite would be a Visa commercial with Jerry Jones. Just buying everything.
Whatever you like.
Mike Thomas, 7-Eleven, always open.
Nice.
Verizon Wireless, hear me out here. Carson Wentz. He's dealing with a bunch of dropped calls. Yeah? Drop balls. I thought you said drop balls. No, I said drop calls.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm sure he would sign up for that in a heartbeat to throw his teammates under the bus.
He probably won't do that, though. I just feel like Ryan Tannehill is a Rochester big and tall looking ass dude. In like a little quarter zip polo sweater, smiling with a cup of coffee and like a younger woman. You know those ads.
I'm actually not terribly familiar.
Oh, you don't do Rochester big and tall. That wasn't a joke about big people and small people.
Yeah.
Because you don't need big sizes.
No, I need tall sizes.
You get on down to Rochester big and tall. And then maybe my favorite one, Jason Gerrit for the clap on, clap off lights.
Very nice.
You remember those, Nate? Dr. Fax? Yeah, that was the commercial. Did you have any more?
Skittles, taste the rainbow. Not beast mode. Jameis again because he tasted his fingers.
Just anything where somebody's eating, you just put Jameis in there.
Yep.
Or anything to do with crabs.
Or anything to do with crabs.
That's right.
And that could go a lot of different ways. I don't see a lot of crab commercials on TV. Crabs are something that you don't market for whatever reason. I don't think you need to like crabs. It's interesting. You don't market crabs.
Old Bay, Old Spice.
Old Bay.
Old Bay. But have you ever seen an Old Bay commercial?
I haven't.
Because people that like crabs are going to eat crabs regardless. They're not going to watch it. It's also very regional, right?
But Maryland is close to us.
Maryland is close to us. Let's do the quick hitters real quick. I better be fast. We're going to do a minute again?
Yep.
You'll only see quick hits here on this pod.
T-Sizzle and the Jackrabbit. Who helps more?
I think Terrell Suggs is. It sounds like he's not the same rusher he was even in recent years. I think he's a little heavier. So he sounds like more of a first and second down guy. Curious to me, the Kansas City signing. I thought initially they might be shielding him from Baltimore, but they're ahead in the waiver order anyways. The only teams that put in a claim were New Orleans, San Francisco, Seattle, and Kansas City. I mean, Baltimore was nowhere to be found.
But didn't need to because Baltimore's at the end.
Yeah, Baltimore's at the end.
Yeah.
So you wonder if they would have taken a stab at him or just assumed that he
It would cost more if you put in the waiver, so just let him go and then
I
sign
don't
him.
think they wanted him back, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And I think Jenkins can come in and help right away. I think he's been better than people remember his worst moments. When you're on the Giants this year and you're on a bad team, people forget the good moments and remember the bad moments. Mike Evans' game, the business decision against Jarwin. Some notable scrap signings late in the year. James Harrison, New England Super Bowl run in 17 that they lost to us. Jay Ajayi, C.J. Anderson last year. He went for 123. And then 2014, LeGarrette Blount. November 20th.
If you were a GM, would you cut somebody because of a tweet?
Quick hitters.
If I was a GM, would I cut somebody over a tweet? Depending on the tweet, yes.
Rams lose to the Cowboys 44-21. How do you fix the Rams?
Well, it's a longer term project for them. I worry. I'm not saying they will. I worry that they're going to keep bumping their head on Jared Goff's ceiling. I think that what's been proven out over time is that McVay has done a wonderful job because all his success is predicated on open receivers. And I think what they have to do in the future is decide on whether or not you're going to stick to the long breaking, deep over type routes, the play action pass stuff where you sit and you need protection, which means they need to build their O-line up, or they get more guys and get open on quick passes and intermediate stuff. They're going to have to address the offensive line problem, free agency. But at the end of the day, if you're going to do the longer developing routes, You have to have Goff not throwing into tight windows. That's what it's all about. His first 14 weeks, he threw into tight windows 11% of the time. That's first in the league. So McVay was doing the best he could. He's not throwing in tight coverage a lot. On Sunday, he threw into tight coverage on 20% of his throws. So we'll see what happens.
The biggest defensive concern for the Pats. Hut, hut!
Oh, nice. Outside runs. Sunday, we saw a little bit of it. 5.1 yards per carry on Sunday for the Bengals, and 5 runs of 10 yards or more. The Bengals went 15 for 88 yards on outside runs. A lot of toss plays, a lot of missed tackles for the Patriots. It was very un-New England-like, but that's 5.9 per on outside runs. So since week 8, some interesting numbers. The home game against Cleveland, everybody remembers that. It sounds like a decade ago. They were averaging 5.4 yards allowed on outside runs. That's 8th most in the league. That's the Pats, bottom 3rd in that stat. They're 12th on inside runs since that point, and also since week 8, 78 rushing yards per game in the first half. That's where you can not factor in having a lead or anything like that. 78 yards per game given up in the first half rushing. That's the most in the NFL. 5.1 yards per carry. That's the most in the first half. All since that point as well. So there's been a problem since week 8 for them, and outside run is where it starts.
Talk to me about Carson Wentz and Greg Ward. Hut, hut!
It's a classic connection, Carson Wentz to Greg Ward, iconic. I think it's safe to say, and we look back at this, that over the last decade, there's never been a more inexperienced crop of receivers taking the field this late in the year. He came into this game with an unprecedentedly inexperienced group of receivers, Greg Ward being probably the one with the most upside. He caught the game winner. He's also the only receiver to catch a ball from Carson Wentz on Sunday. And that's the thing. I don't know how unprecedented that is, but it's probably pretty damn unprecedented or relatively rare. Carson's had a bad year, according to some. 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He hasn't been a top 10 guy, but can we settle at least now on the fact that the Eagles have a lot of problems, and one is not Carson Wentz. Why don't you ask one of the best players on the team, Brandon Brooks? He had a nice little clip.
I'm experimenting with sounders.
Wow.
Jarvis Landry. Hut, hut!
Yeah, he was screaming, "Come get me" at the Cardinals sideline. What's funny to me is not just that he was screaming, "Come get me." He was screaming, "Come get me" at another sub 500 team. Desert weather, though, a lot better than Cleveland, and they seem to be less dysfunctional, but it doesn't seem like Odell or Jarvis are being discriminate about who they're telling to come get them. It's like spam now. It's like, fuck it, whoever's inbox this ends up in, whatever, I'll go anywhere. And that's funny.
Urban Meyer. Hut, hut!
Yeah, so you don't have to be in the owner's box to support your former players. This was a leverage move, him being at the game in Washington. And I wonder if poor Dwayne Haskins and McLaurin as well, did I say that correctly?
Correct.
Really thought he was there just to see them. Because I think he was there to leverage his appearance against the Cowboys. I think the only job that intrigues him enough to come out of retirement, so to speak. It's a lot like the Jimmy Johnson thing with Fox in the early 90s. When they brought him on as a broadcaster, they knew it was temporary. I think Fox knows the same thing now. And I think I don't think he's a house cat. I don't think he ends up in Washington. I think the only job that would intrigue him would be in Dallas.
Urban Meyer's middle name is Frank.
Interesting.
Which I didn't know.
Interesting middle name.
Josh Gordon. Hut, hut!
So here's the big misconception, and we talked about it with Cliff, but, players are not, guys who are in the program are failing for other stuff as well. It's not just bud over and over again. This guy's not just smoking and failing over and over again. There's a lot more at play than just weed here. I know that for a fact. And I'm not going to air his laundry out there, but this guy's had a long history of addiction. And I think one of the biggest issues we have is changing the standard for what's doing well. Signing with an NFL team does not mean you're doing well. Playing on the field does not mean you're doing well. And fans and coaches and, everybody that's watching a Josh Gordon thing unfold, stop saying when he signs somewhere that you're so fucking happy for him because he looks like he's in a good place. You can play football and your life can be in shambles. And it's obvious that this kid's life has been in shambles for some time. And if another team signs him, you're basically saying, I don't give a shit about the person. The person needs to get better, not the football player.
Sign him with the understanding that they have to immediately put them in some.
But they can't sign. Yeah, well, they can't play him though. Yeah, so Nate says they have to sign him with the immediate, intention of putting him in a program.
Him or be like, hey, if you want this, you have to.
Fundamentally, if you're going to put somebody in a program so that he can become a football player, you're not getting it done.
The National Football League Players Association. Hut hut.
Boy, you hate to see it. The NFLPA, that was, of course, sarcasm, sticking one to the NFL. And ironically, this week I had a Michael Strahan interview, and we talked about how he changed the old Coughlin famously in New York to make him the new Coughlin. Well, evidently, old Coughlin is back trying to find guys like Fowler $700K for not coming to optional treatments. Because players don't have to come in for treatment. So there's a couple levels here. One is it's a big win for players. Anytime an organization gets smacked in the hand for getting greedy in the offseason, it's great because they do with practice time, with time in the building, with doctors. The Trent Williams thing comes into play, second opinions. It's why players get second opinions. The Trent Williams thing. If you don't have your choice in doctors, it's a big deal. You see that you can't trust some of these NFL doctors. So it's a big victory for the players, and I'm happy. You saw the Jalen Ramsey tweet. Nice.
Guys you're happy for. Hut hut.
Off the top of my head, I want to do this longer segment on Friday, but gosh, do you have any?
Yeah.
Who?
Mark Ingram.
Yeah, Mark Ingram's mine, and Joe Staley.
Yeah.
That's very good. We had the same one.
Yeah.
Mark Ingram, because a lot of people wondered why he would ever leave somewhere like New Orleans, and I've always really respected him. So for him to go to Baltimore and not just be a part of this ride, to be very, very central to their success, Mark Ingram is on the short list, as is Joe Staley. Can you imagine working your ass off your whole career on shitty teams, up and down, then getting to the Super Bowl, losing it, thinking we're fried, staying in it another 3-4 years, 1-15, 2-14, as bad as they've been, coaching changes, and now he's back. Throw into the mix the fact that he broke his leg this year. I mean, he's got a direct line at being in Miami again, and it probably feels like a lifetime ago that he had his first shot.
You want to talk about Spygate?
I do. I wonder why Spygate 2, obviously, do your job gate is what we'll call it, because the Patriots are alleging that the guy on the Jay Glazer video was just filming their advanced scout who was in Cincinnati in preparation for the Bengals game. Unless you're living up under a rock, you know what the fuck happened. I've already wasted 30 seconds. I wonder why they haven't taken action, because the key here hinges on whether or not there's more video. And does the rest of the Glazer video look like the part we saw? And if it does, they're fucked.
Yeah.
But probably not this year, because the league does not need a problem like this ahead of the Super Bowl. Have you ever heard of a team who got caught cheating in a year and then went on to win the Super Bowl or a championship? It's unprecedented as far as I'm concerned. I've said unprecedented 3-4 times as a segment. It's like I've run out of words, but it ain't going to happen, and the league's not going to let it happen. The league is going to slow play this through the playoffs. We won't hear what happened until the offseason, and watch. The league is going to get into hot water because they're going to be like, oh, we just figured this out. Nice.
I can delete it. Do you want me to delete it? I can delete it if you want.
What?
That's what Homeboy was saying on the tape.
Oh, yeah, that was awful.
Just let me delete it.
No, I can just delete it. It'll just be gone in 30 seconds. That's the end of the pod. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, so because Macon had to go, we're going to do corrections with Dr. Fax. Dr. Fax was taking a nap. I wasn't sure how much of the pod he was listening to. Do you want to go through the corrections?
Yeah, so we have Al Cowlin's Bronco. The company wanted to buy it to take it to people on the graveyard tour. Cowlin's declined. The car was bought from the Cowlins for $75,000 and was in a garage for 17 years.
Oh, that Bronco is probably in beautiful shape.
You like to do that type of stuff.
Bronco, you put a Bronco in a garage?
Yeah, for that
baby
long.
it.
Just let it sit.
My 95 Bronco has 60,000 miles on it.
Go clean it every week.
Yeah, love it.
Dust it off.
Yeah.
Only 20 miles have been added to the odometer since.
That's beautiful.
Car is currently on display at Alcatraz East Crime Museum in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Who knew that there was an Alcatraz crime museum in Tennessee? They're obsessed with crime in Tennessee, fighting crime and putting people in prison. I would just imagine it's the perfect place for a prison museum.
I wonder why
people
Tennessee,
just
though.
older couples just rolling through like, oh, let's go look at that prison.
Escape from Alcatraz.
Alcatraz is in San Francisco. Not a big detail. Bobby Knight, there's a Bobby Knight correction. We talked about where that Bobby Knight chair might be.
And it is in the basement of Assembly Hall at Indiana University.
That's weird. It should be auctioned off.
What did you guys talk about?
Bobby Knight's.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, check out the pod. You were taking a nap.
Yeah.
Another correction, though. I just got a text from somebody who was at that game and claims that nobody heard Jarvis Landry saying to come get me. And that nobody talked about it on the sidelines. Now, take that with a grain of salt. It's just one person. But I think we might have entered into the character assassination stage with OBJ and Juice Landry.
Just saying that they look alike?
No, they're just two guys that are continually asking to evidently leave Cleveland.
Yeah, why not?
I would want to leave Cleveland.
Absolutely. So, why not just be vocal about it?
I agree, but evidently nothing was said on Sunday.